Employer-provided healthcare insurance is not a benefit, it's a detriment. I know they sell it to you as a benefit. They literally call it a benefit, and that's what most people say when they have a job. I get benefits, I get healthcare coverage, it's a benefit, and it's not. But you bought it, and the proof that you bought it is you believe it's a benefit, but it's not. So just hear me out for a minute or two and decide for yourself if you still think it's a benefit, or just maybe this video can help you advance your own thinking so that you can find something better for yourself, because you know you want something better for yourself. And that's really why I'm making this, because I want you to have better for yourself as well. So employer-provided healthcare coverage and disability and all those things. First of all, if you have a job, you're trading time for money. And I'm not knocking jobs in this video, but just as a logistical matter, you're trading your time for money. So if you stop working, or if you get so sick you can't work anymore, you no longer get paid. So that's why you might have some sick days from your job, and once you run out of sick days, then what? You're going to stop getting paid, if they even have any sick days at all. I don't know. A lot of companies are doing away with that because they're struggling financially too, so they're looking where they can cut corners as well. So that's one primary reason why you pick up insurance and disability and healthcare coverage and things like that, because if you get so sick you can no longer work, you still got to be able to make ends meet at home, so you have to pick up those things. At least that's what they have you believe, and logistically that makes sense. But hear me out. Another reason that you get healthcare coverage is because you're taking a bet that someday you're going to get so sick that you can't afford to take care of yourself. So you need some help from a healthcare insurance company, or some sort of insurance pool that a lot of people are dipping into, or at least contributing to. And the theory goes that if the minority is taking out distributions and the majority is contributing, then it's going to be self-sustaining, and it's going to be there for anybody at any time that they ever possibly need it, because emergencies happen and there's somewhat unforeseen. But one big problem that we have right now, and you probably already are aware of this, is that the majority of people are dipping in, pulling out distributions, and it's the minority that aren't taking out distributions because mostly everybody's sick. And that's primarily why healthcare is so insanely expensive, that deductions are so insanely expensive and have tripled, quadrupled, and so on in the past half dozen years now or so. It's because there's a lot of sick people that are taking out those distributions. But anyway, those are the two primary reasons why you want healthcare coverage and insurance and disability and things like that. If you have a job, one, you're trading time for money, so if you have to stop working because you get so sick for whatever reason, you need something to kick in to help you make ends meet. And the second reason is you're betting you're going to get sick anyway, so you're going to need help because you don't make that much money to begin with, especially if you get hammered with a $100,000 doctor bill. Okay, so here's the deal. Here's why it's a scam. That's what it is. It's not a benefit, it's a scam, it's a detriment. Your employer provided health care coverage will wipe you out. If you get sick, you are totally screwed. For one, you're paying premiums on that healthcare coverage and insurance, and if you have disability, short-term and long-term, you're paying premiums on those. Those premiums you can't write off on your taxes. That's money that's gone forever. And if you do get sick and you need to take out distributions, and you start pulling out of that pool for yourself, as you should be able to because you've been putting into it, and now you're sick and you need to, you're not gonna replace dollar for dollar what you're missing from your income from not being able to work. They're gonna pay you, depending on the coverage that you have, about 80 cents to the dollar. So you're gonna be out about 20%. Now let's say, for example, you get sick and you can't work for a period of time, a week, a month, a year, I don't know, something terrible happens and you can't work. So you're trading time for money. Now you can't work, so you stop getting paid, so now your disability is going to kick in, insurance, whatever else that's appropriate that might kick in. You're going to get on average about 80 cents to the dollar. Let's say you were barely making ends meet as it was. You're just barely paying the bills, you're just barely above water, maybe you're right at water, and now suddenly you're getting 20% less. So now you have to figure out how to make ends meet with less money than what was affording you just above broke before, and on top of that, you're sick. Does that still sound like a benefit to you? It's a detriment, it's a scam. They shouldn't be calling it a benefit because that's not what it is. It's a ripoff. And I realize that a lot of you out there are afraid to do better for yourself and afraid to take on other opportunities because you don't want to lose your health insurance and your disability and your coverages and all that sort of stuff. But the reality is that you could get yourself out of a scam, out of a detriment, and if you become so sick, believe me, you're not going to want to try to figure out how to live on less than what you're making now and still pay premiums on top of that and figure out how to do all of that while you're in your most vulnerable state. You're sick. I mean, that's terrible. Ask people, families that have to deal with things like cancers and other long-term disability stuff, and ask them where their focus is and ask them what they believe it should be on. For most of them, it's, my focus is on what I'm going to do to make ends meet, when it should be on getting healthy. I should be able to focus on my health and getting healthy and taking care of my family, but I can't because now I've got worse financial problems than I had before I got sick. All the while I was sold a healthcare benefit and insurance and disability benefit, and it's one crock, it's a scam, and it devastates people's lives. It devastates a lot of people's lives because a lot of people are very sick. And a lot of people that aren't sick now are going to be sick tomorrow because of how they're spending their time right now and how they're not eating right and not working out and things like that. It's awful. So what's the solution? If you're familiar with my style, I don't ever like to paint a picture of the mess that you might be in and not at least give you a solution. I mean, I'm a genuine optimistic. And what I mean by that is I'm not just spouting out empty, feel-good, positive affirmations, because that could kill a person if it's not met with some kind of result soon. And I don't like to just be all doom and gloom, emotional dumping without offering a way out. I mean, every time I put a challenge on the table or present a problem or spell something out for what it is or speak truth, anytime I do that, it's for the aim of a solution, because I believe ultimately we're designed as creatures that are supposed to always grow. So here it is, the solution. The only one that I know of is to start to put yourself to work in your spare time immediately to build up an asset that you own that's going to pay you passively, and eventually pay you passively this money that you own, an income that you own from an asset that you own, that's going to be able to cover all your living expenses, your accidentals, as well as emergency costs, all of that stuff. Because now what you've done for yourself is you are no longer trading time for money. So if you should end up so sick that you can no longer work, you're going to get paid anyway, and it's not going to be 80 cents on the dollar. It's going to be dollar for dollar, or even better. Me, for example, because I've already done this, I spent some time in my spare time starting an asset and building it and nurturing it and caring it in my spare time, and eventually after a couple of years, it far exceeded any job I've ever had as far as paying me money goes. But any job I've ever had, I was always trading time for money, so anytime I couldn't work, I wasn't getting paid anymore. But with this asset that I built myself that's paying me passively now, passive means it pays you whether you work or you don't work. That's your healthcare, that's your disability, short-term and long-term, that's your insurance, that's everything that you need it to be. It's going to cover your living expenses, it's going to nurture and take care of your family, it's going to, if something terrible happens, you're going to be okay. In fact, if I should be struck down with something and I'm sick and I can no longer work, for a week, a year, or whatever, odds are I'm going to actually make more money. So it's better than dollar for dollar, because this asset is growing on its own momentum now, because I took the time, I was faithful with the time that I had and everything that I was given. I was faithful with it, and I built an asset. I nurtured it, groomed it from the ground up, and from a place where I was almost homeless and completely broke, and that was my starting point. But I did it. I just got in and I did it. And now I'm fine. And that's the only way that you can really, truly escape the kind of a form of modern day slavery, being enslaved to all these different things, whether it be trading time for money, so you're a slave to the dollar, and a slave to health insurance, and you actually use that and take it as it was sold to you as a benefit, when it's really not a benefit. And it's really important that you understand that it's not a benefit and why that it's not a benefit. You're paying premiums on that you can't ever get back. You'll never be able to deduct it from your taxes. And if you should get so sick, you're going to be getting less money back than you are already making right now, barely able to survive. And now you got to figure out how to survive on less money than you're making now. And on top of that, you're going to be sick. That's horrible. It's not a way to live. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that begins to at least, even if you don't agree with me, I hope it begins to at least shift your thinking forward a little bit, or a lot. I hope it caused an earthquake in your thinking, actually, to be honest with you. But even if it started just a little bit of a shift in the way that you think and the way that you look at money and how you're spending your time, trading time for money or investing your time for a lifetime of gains. There's a big difference between the two. I hope it starts to change the way that you're looking at healthcare, whether your employer provides it or you get it on your own. It's still pretty much a ripoff in my personal opinion. And I hope you start to look at how healthcare is being sold to you as a benefit when it's really not, so that you start to search for answers and you ultimately find something better for yourself and for your family. Because if the day comes where you get sick and you have to take care of yourself, or a family member gets really sick and you got to take care of them, or multiple people, you and somebody else, and now you got to suddenly figure out how to live on less than you were making before, and you're sick on top of all that, I'm telling you, man, if you don't make the upfront investment in your time before that stuff happens, you are totally going to devastate your own life, and there's nobody to blame for that but yourself. So don't be that person. It destroys a lot of lives. It so does. It is so terrible the way that I see people just get torn apart. People, when they should be totally focused on their health, they can't even do it because they got all these money problems and these huge, enormous problems all stemming from not having enough money. It's just not right, but you are in control of that, and it's going to be determined by how you spend your time right now and tomorrow and the day after that and the day after that, and how you consistently spend your time, so that you're going to be able to take care, and if something happens, you're going to be okay, and you'll be able to put your focus where your focus should be, and that's your health, your family's health, instead of freaking money. That's awful. No longer work for money. Work to build an asset that pays you passively, so that you can get out of that slavery game where you basically anoint money as your master because you're working for it, trading your time for it. Get out of that game. It sucks. And start working hard to build an asset in your spare time, and eventually down the road somewhere, a year, 2 years, 3 years, that asset will be paying you more than enough money to totally cover whatever you were making at your job, and eventually after that, and multiplication tables. And you know what a lot of people do when that happens? They walk away from their job because they don't need it anymore. And if you love your job, great. You got the freedom to hang on and work for it because you love it, instead of working for it out of necessity because you need money. So I hope that made sense. I'm also going to link this to another video that I made. If you look to the bottom in the description or the about section, whatever it is within the YouTube video, I'm going to link a video that I made about changing the direction of your cash flow and making that one change that will change everything for you, including being able to basically fund your own healthcare coverage and insurance and disability, long-term, short-term, so that your focus can always be where it needs to be and whatever you deem as the most important to you. If it's whatever it is that's most important to you, change this one thing, the direction of your cash flow, and you faithfully do it, you will absolutely, without a doubt, be able to put your focus on the most important things, people, whatever, rather than worrying about friggin' money and all the problems and devastation that it creates and not having enough of it, especially when you really need it. That's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. By the way, sharing is caring. I believe that whenever you find success for yourself, it should be in a way that enhances the lives of other people. If you know others who would like this video, send it on over to them or have them come and look at it. Because there's a lot of people that are living in debt and they cannot afford this so-called benefit of healthcare coverage by their employer or anyone else for that matter, because it's draining them financially. And when you have a financial drain, it affects just about every other aspect of your life, and life shouldn't be that way. So if you know people that want to know this video exists, send them on over here. Recommend that they check it out, and let's spread this seed of wealth, not just of financial wealth, but also health and just feelings of wellness, and how we view ourselves, and also how we view being able to help other people out, and not only helping ourselves, but taking the focus off of ourselves and truly helping other people out.